was great fun working with San Francisco Brass Band, just kind of getting them kind of acquainted with the brass band thing, getting the sound and getting some of those gestures that they hadn't quite connected to come together. Lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's one thing I hope Athena we can maybe do a little better a job of, because it's hard when we only see each other for 2 days. And then like that's it.
You're telling me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to New World BrassCast. We are here with the Jessica Sneeringer, and she is the conductor of Athena Brass Band, that is going to be playing at the International Women's Brass Conference coming up soon. Yay!
Welcome! Yay!
Hi, everybody.
So, Aaron, you're going too?
I'm going. Yep.
What are you planning on doing?
So I am doing a recital and judging mock orchestra tuba auditions.
Oh, very cool.
When is your recital?
Right after I get done judging mock tuba orchestra auditions. They put it
Perfect
right
timing.
back to back. Yeah, so the cool thing, so my buddy from college, Mike, is he's now getting his doctorate in conducting at Texas Austin. And I was like, hey, if I pay for your registration, will you just like hang out with me at the conference? And so I'm going to have him get me like a sandwich really quick between the two. Because still, because I have to fly into Dallas-Fort Worth, it's still cheaper for me to pay for his flight or for his registration and have him drive me than it is for me to pay for an Uber twice, both ways. So that's the easiest way to go about it. But yeah, so it's Wednesday evening. I think it's like 6, something like that. I should know that better.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get there, and that's when I'm going to pay attention to what I'm supposed to be doing. That's kind of my vibe.
I have to tell you, when I hosted the IWBC at Rowan, I was also a featured artist. So
you were crazy. I remember that.
I scheduled my performance with the large ensemble for the first night because I was like, I will not be sleep deprived yet. But the recital, just due to scheduling and how it worked out, it was impossible to schedule my recital early. So it was like halfway through the week. So I remember I had like 3 hours of sleep the night before, and I was running around trying to put out all the little fires that just inevitably happen at a conference like that. And then I remember thinking, oh crap, I have to get changed. And I remember I crawled under my desk in my office at Rowan and just like set the timer for like 15 minutes. I was like, okay, like this is what's going to give me that little bit of energy to get through this recital.
Almost more of a tease. That 15 minutes is almost more of a tease than an actual rest.
Well, I didn't have time. I mean, you just don't have the luxury.
In terms of like performance headspace, do you think that did better or worse for you because you didn't have time to like sit there and stew about what was about to happen? You had to just like essentially get ready and go.
Well, I mean, to be totally honest, I had basically what was going to become my CD programmed, and I was going to have I had the overhead pulled down so that I could have works of art in the background while I played, because the one piece is Chagall'ian scene, so Dave Chagall, and like I had different colors for all of the different movements of another piece called Colors and Movements. And so I had all this planned, and somehow when I went to open my computer backstage to hook everything up, the whole slideshow disappeared. So in what was going to become my warm-up time, I was frantically going through like my old like search history of all the images that I'd pulled up and like putting back together the slideshow.
Oh my God.
And so I didn't even have like time to warm up, and I was like, don't worry, it's just one of the biggest recitals I've ever done. No problem. I was like, at least I'll get a warm up like on stage with the first piece. I scheduled something that I was programmed it at least that the beginning of the first piece was like nice and loud. And I just got through it, but it was like, that was killer. And I remember they asked me to be in Athena, and they asked if I wanted to play with the brass quintet that was going to be playing. I think it was Seraph Brass.
Yeah.
And I was like, you want me to host, to be a featured artist, to play with Seraph and Athena? And I was like, I can burn the candle on both ends, but I I can't. I need a 4-ended, candle in that case. It's not gonna work. But that was it.
Raquel's not playing with us, and she usually does because she's hosting. There's just no way.
There's no way. There's no way. But that was good times having everyone out to Rowan. And last time, where was it? Where was it last time?
Arizona State University.
Yeah. And now we're at North Texas. Yay.
Mm-hmm. How often do they do this?
Every 2 years is the idea. COVID got in the way of that. But it also wasn't exactly every 2 years, like 2019, 2017, 2014. So sometimes it has to do with who's hosting and when the school is available, you know. But for a long time, it was East Coast. So when we went to Arizona State, I think that was the first time, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think it was the first time ever that they went like west of the Mississippi. So it was kind of like, wow, that's a big deal. And now they're doing the North Texas, which is really cool. So, I mean, I don't know. It just, my first conference was 2003 when I was in Athena as a bass trombonist. And I'll be honest, like I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, well, this is some kind of like very specific, obscure little conference. And I don't really understand why we're going, but I get to play some bass trombone, so I'll go. And it was tiny. It was at Illinois State University, and it was like 3 rooms. It felt like, I'm sure it was more than that, but it felt very small. But every year it just gets bigger and more wide to the larger audience. And it's just, I think it's one of the best conferences out there.
I think I was telling my student, he's going off to college next year. And I was saying, if you have the opportunity to go to an IWBC, if it's ever close to you, you should grab all of your friends and go. I told him it's kind of like, it flips like the feeling of conferences on its head, because so many times when I'm at a conference, it feels like so many people are trying to meet the big names and like reach out and network with those people. But at the IWBC, it's like it's flipped upside down, and those are the people who are reaching out and trying to lift up everyone else. Yep. They're going out and meeting young professionals and kind of giving them advice and helping out, and so it really, the atmosphere is just awesome.
For instance, with Athena, for this go round, Midwest, we had to make sure we knew who was coming and who could play the parts. We needed to know who we could rely on. For this, it's more about getting this exposure to those younger musicians. We have more first-time Athena members for this particular performance than we've ever had, and a couple college kids as well, which we don't typically do a whole lot of. So I'm very excited because like this will be their first IWBC. This is their first Athena, and like just to know what they're going to walk away having been exposed to is exactly why this conference exists.
Yeah. How do you determine who's going to be on the roster from one gig to the next?
That's a great question and a loaded question. So it started, so Laura Leinberger started in 2003, and she kind of handpicked her section leaders and said, make a band. So the section leaders called who they knew could do the job well. Interestingly, we've never had the same band twice. We've never even had all the same section leaders twice, but we have a lot, we have a core group, right? And so each year, or every time we got together, sometimes every 2 years, every year, it depended on the schedule. The section leaders would get called, and then they would make a band. And depending on who the section leader was, we got different sections. It was very interesting. Well, 2019, I started conducting in 2012, but in 2019, I knew it was going to be a really important performance because we were making our Midwest application video, right? So I had a little bit more to do. I was like, hey, section leaders, think about these people, consider consider these folks. And it was a conversation, you know. And then for Midwest, again, it was like, who do we know is going to do the job? So obviously for Midwest performance, that's a very big deal. But we also have a new board. We're trying to become 501c3. We're almost done with the process. We have a board. We have lots of committees, and one of the committees is personnel. Because it's a little tricky. As Athena has grown in I don't know how to put it. I mean, in attractive qualities of musicianship, I guess. I mean, like Athena has grown since 2003. We've played, our music selection has gotten more intricate and complex. The level of musicianship has just absolutely increased. More and more people want to be in it. And it's hard because we want people to be in it, but you know, it's a brass band instrumentation. You're not going to have 90 people on stage. So we have to try to rotate in and out. Like Amy's done a couple in a row now, but I don't know if she'll do the next one. Like it's kind of weird. I know I'm not conducting the next one just because I can't do it, but that's great because we have a lot of people who can conduct. So anyway, we have a personnel committee now. Excuse me. We have a whole database of who has played, which Athena events they've played. And then, you know, if there's a particular part that they prefer to play, cornet versus flugelhorn, or, you know, like third cornet versus piano, or whatever it might be. And we're trying to be a little bit more intentional about who we call and making sure we spread the love. Because like, again, we had some college kids this time around, which we haven't really done before. But Jen Olivero had some names. She's like, what about this person? What about that person? I'm like, I don't know those people. Who are they? Like Amy Millison, who is the principal cornet at James Madison University. She's playing with us this time. That's going to be phenomenal for her. Just to be at that conference and to have a reason to be there. And then for the reason to be Athena, I don't know how she's going to walk away feeling, but I have a pretty good idea. So, you know, the personnel committee is now a large part of the selection. And it's hard because, again, you want everybody, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But it's not about, oh, well, you weren't good enough to get asked this time. It's who else can we bring in and who do we need to move around to make that happen?
That seems like a fairly interesting process. You know, for the conductor, I'm sure it's probably more scary than anything because like you don't know what you're going to get.
Well, yeah, and like I said, like initially we didn't know. Like I remember 2014. Half the band I'd never met before. I was like, oh, hey, who are you? You know, like, so you're programming pieces for a band that you don't really know. That is a little bit of a challenge. Now, the good news is we trust our core group to do what they need to do. And the people on the personnel committee, you know, we're not going with people we aren't aware of. Like, so somebody might recommend somebody, and that's great, but we need to know more, just more than a name. So we actually have on our website a form people can fill out that has, you know, I'm interested in joining Athena, which is great. And they fill in all their information, excuse me, post-COVID. And we fill all their information out. And if we don't know them, then we ask for recommendations and a video. And that process has not actually happened yet, which is kind of cool. We have, I think, I don't know, maybe eight people who have filled out that form. And so far, all of them have a connection to Athena that somebody knows them. But so far, nobody's filled out the form who we don't know. But I'm kind of anticipating at IWBC, because we're going to push that. I'm anticipating having somebody fill out the form that we're like, who are you? Send us a video. Let's see what you can do, you know? So, yeah. And we've talked about some other ideas of how to grow Athena, and, you know, like maybe there's a college Athena, maybe there's a week-long experience or something like that. And
high school Athena.
Yeah, I mean, there is an Athena music camp already that Myra King wrote, and she leads. It's like they have 3 locations in Atlanta, Chicago, and another place that I'm blanking on. It's an Athena music and leadership camp for young women. So we're not affiliated with them. We're trying to make sure we can, you know, offer us up as people who could help out or whatever. But maybe there'd be a high school version. But then again, like, how do you do that? What does it look like? There's a lot of layers there.
It's a lot of work to do that. Like, then who are you going to get to do it? That's a big undertaking, and is there even a market for it? Summers, kids are so crazy busy in the summers now.
Yep.
So that's
Very different.
that'll be a tough one.
So we'll see.
But I think Athena is with it working towards becoming a 501c3. There's a lot more stuff that's made possible in Athena's future. With it being a 501c3, then can people like donate to support the ensemble?
They can, and actually on the website is another button that directs you to a PayPal link. And while we're not 100% 501c3, we're super close. So I anticipate this year having it finalized. So if you donated now, you could probably write that off. But we have had donations come in already, which is kind of a cool thing. They're slow, but this is a new thing. We haven't really advertised it a whole lot yet either. Just kind of making sure our ducks in a row, but we're good to go. We do have a PayPal account all lined up and all those things. We have some great ideas in the works and some great opportunities coming down. So hopefully we can get that donation thing working, because I think we're going to need it to be able to make all these other great ideas come to fruition.
I looked it up really quick, by the way. I looked it up. It is listed right now as Atlanta and Minnesota are the two locations that are mentioned on their website right now.
Okay. The Athena Music and Leadership Camp.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Very cool.
So I wonder what's is a possible like tour in the future?
So ideally,
hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So we have our big 20-year anniversary coming up in 2023. And so we had a conversation about doing like an East Coast tour of summer music camps, Brevard, Eastern Music, maybe the Athena Leadership Camp. I mean, we haven't talked to Myra yet, but trying to maybe do something of that nature, and just kind of have a week or two where we just travel and play and make connections with lots of great musicians, young and old. And then we have another opportunity that's very in the infant stages. Lucy Pankhurst, who's a great brass band composer. We're actually playing one of her pieces next week. She has come up with this amazing idea, and we're, again, the very young infantile stages right now, of doing the January Brass Festival at Royal Northern College of Music.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. So, yeah, I know. Look at Amy's face.
Amazing.
It would be amazing. So she just wrote me like 3 days ago, just giving me an update of where she is at. She's got to get some stuff lined up over there first before we can start doing our stuff. But the idea was to have, our band play a program of all female composers. And she's got a couple of those people lined up, doing, and not just doing that one performance, but like, maybe doing a couple young people's concerts. That was Jen Oliverio's idea. Maybe get into a Black Dyke rehearsal room for a rehearsal or something, just kind of see what we can do while we're there, make the most of our time, and really make sure we represent Athena the best that we can. So again, none of that's been confirmed, but that's kind of stuff that we're working toward. Athena is, it's a special group, and while we can, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
That would be super cool.
Yes.
Yes.
What day do y'all perform on for IWBC this go?
I'm sorry, what?
What day do you all perform on?
We are Thursday night. So our rehearsals will start at 2:30 on Tuesday. So we go, what is it, 5 hours on Tuesday, Amy?
I don't remember.
I should know too. I think it's like 5 hours on Tuesday, and then 3 hours Wednesday morning. I have scheduled 3 hours Wednesday afternoon, but honestly, most chops are fried by that point. We usually do about an hour and a half. I do have Thursday morning reserved. I always have Thursday morning reserved. We never, ever use Thursday morning. I'm one of those plan for the worst, hope for the best kind of people. And so far, we've never needed it. So yeah, the idea is to like do Tuesday, push hard Tuesday, push hard Wednesday morning, do what we need to do Wednesday afternoon, and then like do nothing, and then the performance. But one of the tricky things about IWBC is that everybody's so involved, and in the past we would have like several people miss a chunk of rehearsal, and previously with the programs we had, it wasn't a huge deal. Like music wasn't too difficult or too intricate to put together. But the last couple IWBCs, it's been a little bit more challenging. So we've had to kind of say, look, we need you to not be playing with other groups, if at all possible. Now, obviously that doesn't work for everybody. Some people are giving recitals. Some people are doing a presentation or a master class, and that's great. I mean, we don't want to preclude them from doing those things, but it is a little tricky. We do have a couple people who do have a couple conflicts, but I feel like compared to previous IWBCs, that number has gone down a bit. So we'll see how that goes.
So what's the program for the IWBC show? What's going on?
Haven't you been practicing?
I have. I know what it is. The music is right behind me. And I've been practicing my butt off. But for those of you who don't know what it is.
So we are opening with Shine as the Light by Peter Graham. And a lot of people will close with that. And I was like, yeah, it's a good closer, but I think it's also a good opener. It's a long opener. It's like 8.5 minutes, but I feel like this is the kind of crowd that will dig that. So we'll do that. We're going to feature Jen Oliverio on A Little Star Went Out, a flugelhorn solo, written by Philip Harper. I can't remember the exact order at this point. I think we do Star Lake March next, and Star Lake is one of the classic Salvation Army marches, but we're going to have Carol Dawn Reinhardt conduct that. And why that is exciting is that she's the first female to ever conduct a Salvation Army brass band. She's amazing. She's a trumpet teacher in Germany. She's been around. She's like one of the masters. I think she was honored. Was she honored at Rowan, or was that at Arizona State as a pioneer?
I think it was Rowan I think we had her. We had Marin Alsop there. I remember getting pictures of Marin Alsop like at Rowan. I'm like, Marin Alsop is like at Rowan. Like, oh my gosh.
Like,
but yeah, I seem to remember Carol up there too.
Yeah, and as much as we all know Marin Alsop, Carol Dawn is just as much of a legend, just lesser known, just because of she's very specific to trumpet and cornet, but like her pedigree is amazing. So she's gonna do that. We're gonna play on a hymn song of Philip Bliss. We are gonna do Lucy's piece where she sings freely, which is a very modern piece, has narration, and it's kind of an intense piece. I think this is the audience to perform it for. There are some audiences I would not program it for, only because of the topic, and I feel like, again, this is the right one. Michael Garassi, who's Brass Band of Battle Creek's conductor, he is going to conduct Gail Robertson's march that she wrote for BBBC and Midwest that they just played at. It's called Persistence. Let's see. We are going to do a beautiful piece by Philip Clark called Mountain Song. And of course, we've already talked about Dorothy Gates and Hope. This is, I don't think our recording got this, but this was the test piece for the second section at NABA this year. Dorothy Gates, of course, a composer and arranger for Salvation Army, trombone player, New York Staff Band. She's amazing. And this piece, it's a 13.5-minute long piece that is it just paints a really cool picture. And the topic is, again, pretty heavy, but it really highlights what a brass band can do. So I'm excited about that. And we have an encore that I'm not going to talk about, but it's definitely different. Not something I would have ever imagined us doing at any kind of indoor performance. But I think this is the audience that we can pull this off. I think we can do it. So did I forget anything, Amy?
I think that's all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course of course you're doing this without intermission, right?
Correct.
Let's go.
Yeah, and actually this is a shorter concert than we usually do. because they programmed us at I think 7, and then chromatic brass ensemble I think at 8:30. So we have we usually do like an hour and a half ish with speaking and stuff. So I'm going to cut down on the speaking a lot. I'm not going to talk before every tune. In fact, I usually don't talk at all, but I figured it's time to be a big girl and do the speaking. I'll probably blubber over it and stutter, and it's going to be terrible, but it's okay. But I feel that way, the timing, I can kind of keep things flowing. If we need to move along, I can do that and not have to worry about a narrator figuring that out. So there will be significantly less talking, which I'm a little concerned about the chops for, but we got some pretty awesome players. We got the horses, so we'll figure it out.
Is that something that you did with Cobb all the years you directed them? Is would you talk a lot in between pieces to spell the chops a little bit, but also are you comfortable talking? Like it's the one thing I don't like the most about being a brass band conductor is talking to an audience.
So, okay, and Amy, you're gonna laugh. Amy, okay, Tony and Amy, you know me. Erin, I'm sorry I don't know you yet, but I think we're gonna become good friends next week. I did not speak in high school. Like teachers were concerned about me in high school because I didn't speak. And then I was a senior in the high school band. I had to call the band to attention, and it was mortifying. I hated it. In college, people thought I was stuck up because I wouldn't talk to them. And it was not because I didn't think I should talk. I was scared to death that I was going to sound stupid. Even to this day, if I'm in a meeting, I will turn bright red when I have to speak. Like and give an opinion. It's embarrassing. I'm like 45 years old.
Thanks for coming on to an audio podcast, by the way.
Yeah. I'm like, oh. But here's the thing. So I started I started teaching, and you have to speak in front of the parents. Yeah. But I was like, okay, they don't really know what I'm talking about. It's fine. Brass band audiences know, like they know. And when I started conducting Cobb, I tried to convince anybody to be the MC for any concert. And they're like, no, I don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. I tried so hard, but it ended up being me. And I will tell you that especially the first year, I stumbled over pretty much every sentence I spoke, and I would turn around and be like, I can't believe I just said that. Oh my gosh. Or like I would turn around and like whisper to the principal cornet, I hate talking. I hate it, you know. But 16 years of Cobb, you do it a lot. I mean, we'd had several concerts, 10, 15 concerts a year. You get used to it. I will say I have a public persona, and then I have my actual persona. And like when I was speaking at IWBC, it'll be my public, more formal, you know. But I think one thing that I can't get rid of, and I'm glad, I'm still a goofball. So I'll still announce something, and I'll still be silly about it, and I'll make a joke or whatever. And I'll prepare announcements, I'll prepare comments, but I won't read them off the page. That's just not my style. There are people who are way better at it than I am and have way more couth. I'm not that polished.
Well, yeah, I have the same problem. If I have to make sure that I say something, I have to write it down. You know, like at NABA, I read what I was going to say. Because if I didn't read what I was going to say, I was going to make a fool of myself. And I did not want to do that. Because when I do the pieces for my brass band concerts, it's like, well, I research and I have an idea what I'm going to say, but I can't read something because that's not entertaining.
Right. Right. And you got to figure out the flow and how are people reacting and what's their response to what you say. And yeah.
So I'll riff in between pieces, and stuff that I thought I was going to say, I'll end up not saying. Stuff that I shouldn't say, I'll end up saying. I'm just like, oh my God, what am I doing? You know, and the band's just sitting back listening to me going, what the hell is he talking about up there? You know?
Yeah, I've had more than my fair share of those moments where I turn around the band cracking up because I just made a fool of myself. And like at Midwest, we did introduce for the piece Rest, a good friend of several of our members had passed away previous, and he's a legend band director in Ohio, Dan Meeks. And we did write out a thing for him, and I did read it verbatim at Midwest because I did not want to mess that up fortunately for things like IWBC or most like summer festivals or whatever, the stakes for me screwing it up are not that high. So it's like I can say what I need to say, but also if I feel like the audience might respond a little bit and it's a relaxing moment, gets the band to laugh a little bit and relax their shoulders, get them not to be so tight, then I'm going to do that, but yeah, I have had more than my fair share of blunders.
Yeah. And it's like everyone in the band's like, well, yeah, but Tony, your personality comes out. I'm just like, should it?
I don't think I've ever cussed on a microphone, but there were a couple of times I got close. I don't think I ever actually did it.
That's my biggest fear, is that I'll say something that I shouldn't,
And of course, now that I've said that on your podcast, you know what's going to happen next week.
Oh, I would give money to see that. Lots
Great. I think Patrick Oliverio is recording it all, so maybe he'll get it.
Well, now that you've said it publicly with this coming out, everybody's going to bring their phone and just be ready just in case.
I can't wait.
She's talking. She's talking. She's talking.
Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to record the band, just you talking.
You could have somebody before every piece tell everyone to turn off their phones.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Turn them up now.
Yeah.
I said that oh my goodness, announcing first section, and it says please turn off your devices, and then I would walk off stage to 6 text messages from whoever was on the thing going, you can't tell me what to do. I'm like, listen, I'm just reading,
I was at a concert this past Sunday, a choir concert, and I got caught off guard because the announcer said, please turn off all cell phones and pagers. I was like,
Pagers?
And pagers.
Somebody
Who has a pager?
Maybe they have a lot of doctors go to their concerts specifically, and it's actually
do
been a
doctors
problem.
use pagers anymore?
No,
Is that a thing?
I think so.
They do. They still do.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But only in the hospital, right? Like when they go home, they can leave their 1920s technology at the hospital, right?
Yeah, maybe, they're in scrub. I see, they're in scrub. I don't know. I'm trying to make excuses for the poor guy. I don't know.
I don't think I've seen any. My brother-in-law's a doctor. My dad was a doctor. I haven't seen a pager on either of them. They used to have pagers and it used to go off a lot of the time.
We see them here, especially because I live in Florida. A lot of the times when you see somebody in scrubs, they also work at nursing homes. So you see a lot of pagers on nursing home people.
Got it.
I think we should bring the pager back.
I don't think I ever even
What a
understood how
hipster.
it worked.
I don't think I never had one. And I remember when it was like a trend for everyone to have pagers, and there's all these like codes that you could like send people and stuff. And I just, even back then I was like, why?
Listen, we thought low-rise bootcut jeans were a good idea. Like we thought BlackBerry was the coolest device you could ever have. Just something that made it look like you had a tumor in your pocket.
Oh, the wide leg jeans that that were too long, that every time you walked anywhere with any moisture on the ground, it like soaked halfway up your leg. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was, yeah.
Well,
that was
that's if you
thing.
haven't already stepped, so the whole back of it hasn't
It
already
was
been,
like,
been torn
yeah.
up by your etnies while you're listening to Avril Lavigne on your Walkman tape deck.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it.
Okay,
So actually, I
okay.
actually had a question, I wanted to talk about something about IWBC, because like obviously me saying, yeah, I'm playing a recital at the International Women's Brass Conference, everybody looks at me 6 different ways. And so can we, especially Jessica and Amy, can we go through some of the general misconceptions about like what this conference is and who can go and what it's for? It's just clear the air on this a little bit.
So I think the biggest misconception is that it's for international women brass players.
Mhm.
Because it's not. It's for anybody, literally anybody, and I think when it first started, it was primarily women, primarily from North America. But I know we've had in our band for this next week, we have Kana Matarane coming from Japan. We had Bente Ilevold from Norway in 2019. So the international part is very much a prominent part of it, and it's growing. But the women's part, it's not just for women. I mean, it's for anybody who needs inspiring, you know, and that's what is so cool. We have this, I shouldn't say, I'm not representing the conference. I should probably tell you I'm not like part of the board or anything, but like I feel so in tune with it because the idea is to, you know, share what you know, give other people a chance to grow, inspire those who maybe need a little bit of a nudge. You know, like Amy was saying earlier, it's not people going and finding the big names; it's the big names finding the not so names. And the fact that, you know, we have these competitions that have great monetary prizes
that are
and
open to everyone.
Open to everyone. I mean, I remember Grant Jameson won. What year was that? 2014, 2017. I mean, like there have been male winners because we wanted the best musician to win, and maybe sometimes it's a guy. That's totally cool. It's not exclusionary. It's very inclusive, and I think that's actually why I like this conference so much, is because it feels inclusive. You know, you can say, well, we're an inclusive conference. Saying you are is very different than walking the walk. Amy?
And it's definitely, yeah. I explain it. I tell people that this is a conference that celebrates women in brass, and it's open for anyone who wants to come and understand that we're lifting up female composers, we're lifting up women brass players, while not excluding the male composers and the male players. You know what I mean? So we have everyone at this conference, and it's such a diverse and uplifting environment. I really look forward to it, and it's, as this is kind of funny, as an introvert, I usually get exhausted by conferences because I just, putting myself out there is just exhausting for me. But this conference, I go and I feel energized through it.
Yeah.
And it's such a unique experience. And it's a cool experience in that so much of what I do, so frequently I'm in the room with one or two or three other women, and to be able to be in a space where that number is so much higher is just a cool experience. I think especially for the younger people who come, because they haven't had that chance yet. So
it changes the atmosphere.
So there are, I don't know what percentage of the conference is men. We always accept, I see all genders represented, and it's a really inclusive environment. And as I said, I love going to it.
It changed my life, and I didn't know it was going to. Like I said, I kind of went because I had a chance to play in a brass band that seemed like a cool thing. But you guys, like, look, here's what I do. I teach middle school and high school band at a private school in Central Ohio. I have a master's degree in education. I don't have a master's degree in conducting. That's a longer story. That wasn't my choice. Anyway, but I don't have a doctorate. I don't have a military band experience in my past. There's a lot. I'm literally just a band director. Laura Lineberger, who founded Athena, who's our, I mean, she's just, she is Athena. She knew I was conducting Cobb, Central Ohio Brass Band, and was like, hey, we need somebody for 2012's Gettysburg Festival, because Anita Cocker Hunt, who was our previous conductor, who had started to conduct the band from Cincinnati Brass Band, and former president of NABA, Anita couldn't make that gig. And so Laura literally took a chance and threw it my way. She had no reason really to trust that I could do a better job than anybody else. But she's like, hey, go ahead, try it. And I did, and that was great. And it went fine. It was a summer festival, so nothing too heavy music-wise. Got a chance to do it again in 2014 at IWBC, which was I mean, at that point in my life, the biggest performance I'd had, in terms of quality of the band and the venue and all this stuff. NABA was great, don't get me wrong, but like I knew Cobb was my people. Like I saw Cobb every week. Coming into doing Athena, like lickety split turnaround 2 days, that was very different. And then 27, I mean, it just kept going. But out of that came opportunities from like Ginger Turner, who is former sergeant major of the U.S. Army Field Band. Ginger's, are we allowed to swear on this?
We already did our.
Oh yeah,
once.
Ginger's a badass. So here's the thing.
The unofficial rule is if they don't say it on The Simpsons, don't say it here.
Okay, well, she's a serious badass. And she hosts the Holiday Brass in Baltimore, which is this really cool one-night only brass concert of holiday music that has people from every military band, like the big ones, the National Symphony, all of these amazing things. She had me come out and conduct it. And I was like, why? I didn't know why I was being asked to do that. But she saw what we were doing with Athena. She and Laura talked. Ginger threw it at me. That was amazing. I mean, like, this conference has literally changed my life. I went to not knowing what I was doing with my life to having a pretty good clue as to what I need to do with my life. And none of it would have happened without this conference. And again, I'm this is going to sound weird. I don't really feel this way anymore, but like I'm a nobody, I don't have any big college gig. I don't have the degrees, but this conference has given me a lot. And I'm hoping to just, be grateful all the time and do what I'm supposed to do with it and be responsible with it and make it what it can be. So
I have bad news for you, Jess. You're not a nobody anymore. You're on the New World BrassCast, for Christ's sake.
Woohoo! All right.
You're somebody now. I'm somebody.
I'm somebody. I'm in the phone book.
Somebody knows that reference. Thank goodness.
Yeah, we're old, Tony. We're old.
Yeah, way too old. Even Aaron doesn't know that one, and he knows everything pop culture related.
I mean, I know what a phone book is. I know that.
You gotta watch The Jerk with Steve Martin.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
no, but I mean, but like literally, and I think that's part of it is like where I won't say anything else about anything bad, but where I went to school, women weren't encouraged to do things. Like I wasn't really encouraged to get that master's in conducting. Why? That's a great question. But if you look at the conducting studio, it's like all white guys. Like, come on. Like, and you get these hidden messages for 10, 20 years and you start believing them. And I got all of a sudden these other messages that were very conflicting to what I was hearing my entire life saying, oh, you could totally do this. Oh, why aren't you doing this? What you could you should do this. And then you start going, yeah, why aren't I doing that? Like, what the heck? I can totally do that. I'm going to do that, and it's a game changer. And I'm so excited for these young women who are going to be in Athena next week. We have, like, again, a few of them who are in college still who, man, for them to get the message at the age they're getting the message is going to be life-changing. They may not even realize it, and that's cool. That's totally fine, but it's going to change their life.
I'm so excited. So I started at the university that I teach at about 2 years before COVID, and there were 0 tuba euphonium students. So my first studio is literally a COVID studio. Like,
Whoa.
I didn't have enough people to go do things, and then once I had enough people to start doing things were no longer happening. So I had a handful of kids go to Surtech, and we noticed at the professor's choir that Dr. Van Tynen was the only female on stage for the professor's choir between tubas and euphoniums that represented the entire Southeast. Joel Collier was the only person of color, and I was the youngest. And my studio noticed it, and I have a student who's going to this, and she's competing in the competition, she's volunteering, and she's done the mentorship program before. And so I'm just like, this is literally... I'm hoping it's going to be something to like, oh, this is what this is like. This is the community. And it's kind of like what you were talking about earlier with Athena about the growth of that group and through the conference is it really has become, and I don't know if you're so close to it that you don't see it, but in the same way that like when I was coming up in like college, it was Battle Creek was like this like goal honor band to possibly be a part of. My students are talking about Athena in the same way. Like there was like, oh, I couldn't imagine playing tuba beside Joanna Ross Hershey or something like that. Like they're thinking about it that way. And so, I mean, the work's being done. A culture is being created around it, and it's really cool.
That's fantastic to hear.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you. Hey, tell them to come to the rehearsals. I mean, they're not closed or anything that on purpose. They're just rehearsals. So tell them to come find us and say hi. Seriously.
It's a student that Amy dodged at NABA.
Oh.
What?
It wasn't intentional. It was no. Remember, I was like, I have a kid that I need you to see. That's why I was like so adamant about us hanging out. It was I wanted you to meet my kid,
Oh,
but you'll be at this, so she'll be there too, and she's volunteering, and she'll be there the whole time.
okay.
Yeah, but also she was like, should I do Falcone or International Women's Brass? I was like, well, the lit's better for IWBC, and they pay out way better. So
Way better.
do you want to go to IWBC or do you want to go to a band camp in Michigan?
You make it sound bad. It's not bad.
I was like, do you want to leave Florida in July or in this time of year for Texas or a lake?
Depends on who you talk to. Some people would choose the latter.
You know, it is funny. When we have spring break, we do go up to like Seattle, like the Pacific Northwest is where we literally the opposite corner.
Well, I'm excited to meet your student. And I think, like I said, this is on so many different levels. It's going to change perspectives, which in turn will change lives. Yeah.
And I hope that through this podcast episode, we can convince people out there to support Athena, to go to the IWBC. Remember, it's for everyone. And I mean, obviously it's too late for you to show up unless you're local for this year's IWBC, but kind of put it on your radar. This is a place that is changing lives and eye-opening for so many people, and it's growing exponentially every time we get together. So hopefully we can drum up some support for both Athena, for the International Women's Brass Conference, for all that they're doing and everyone they're supporting. Yeah.
That's awesome. Are we going to do a question?
Oh yeah, we need a question. Erin, you're the question person.
We so do need a question, don't we?
We need a question.
We need a question.
Drum roll, please.
I've got one that's kind of simplistic, but
Those
kind
are
of
the best ones.
Yeah, it sticks along with what we usually do for these. But
All
the
right.
question I would have is, who is your favorite, or what was your favorite performance or player that's a female that you heard perform live, maybe as a soloist?
Oh my God. Okay. Actually, that's a very easy one. So it just happened at Midwest. Amy Nelson performed yeah, My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Can I just tell you,
it was so good.
If you don't know Amy
good.
or Amy's sound or Amy's musicianship, then you are missing out. She played that, and tears in the audience, chills the entire time. I mean, and I had the best vantage point. I just was like, I'm just waving my arms. I get to enjoy the whole thing. And let me just tell you, it was amazing. And she's got the sound, first of all. You know, her sound is just the sound you want every cornet player to have. But then she puts this whole layer of musicianship on top of it. And it's not human. But yeah, that I think is going to stick with my answer. Yeah, that's what I say.
That's a pretty good one, and to have it be so recent's even better.
Yeah.
What about you, Aaron?
At Surtec, the Georgia Brass Band did essentially a showcase concert where like it was like a piece and a soloist, piece and a soloist, piece and a soloist, and it was like everybody played well. So just because I'm gonna highlight this one person does not mean that I think anybody was bad. But like Justin Benavidez came in and crushed it. Adam Fry played and crushed it. Jason Casanova, but Beth Weiss played.
She's amazing.
Oh my goodness! Like she just came in. And of course, she was the only woman who was featured in that way, and she just comes in. I don't even remember what she played because I didn't know it before. But there were literal there was a lot of younger people who I don't think knew who she was. Like I just happen to know all the Florida studios, so I saw like some of the USF kids and the UF kids, and you know the sparkles of people, and like literal heads go up from the phone when she started playing. You know, it was kind of ho hum, and then like she plays, and it's just instantly. It was phenomenal, and then she went and judged me at NABA, and I was so nervous about the competition, I had no idea it was her when I went up and handed her my music.
You know, you made an impact when you can get somebody to look up from their phone.
A 20-year-old, yeah.
That's amazing. We gotta get in touch with her.
Yeah, she should be playing in Athena someday.
All right, well, hook us up, Aaron.
Put on the list. Amy,
I've embarrassed myself too much around her to like let her know, because so at that thing I was like, oh, if I was in her position I would want photos, so I took photos of her, never having spoken to this woman but just being Facebook friends with her. So I took photos of her competing, and then I sent it to her and I said, hey, great job. Oh, by the way, I thought you might want this. Like 5 minutes later, I was like, I'm not just some guy who like just takes photos of people. And she was like, thank you so much. I completely understand where you're at. And she was so nice to me about that. But like, I had this like, oh, I'm going to be nice about this. Oh no, I'm terribly creepy right now. I didn't even like realize unintentionally. So like, I'm not how you're going to get that, because I've already embarrassed myself to a point where I will never be on her radar again.
Oh, you'll be on a radar.
Oh yeah, hey, you know that? Oh, he's that one guy who just takes photos of people.
Restraining order. Amy, your turn.
I think it was Ashley Hall. And
she's amazing.
Yeah, and I heard her. I think it was the International Trumpet Guild, possibly the first time, and that was a moment, just hearing her. And then at IWBC we had her as a featured artist. And when it was at Rowan, we were all on different, like we spread the featured artists throughout the large ensembles. And so Ashley and I were on the same concert, and I remember I was flipping out backstage. I did the first movement of the Cosma, and preparing that, running the festival with an 8-month-old at home, and preparing the Cosma. It was just like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. It was, you know. And I remember I was kind of flipping out backstage, because I was also going through like imposter syndrome, because I was sharing a dressing room with Velvet Brown, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Hey, that thing's real. That imposter syndrome thing, that is real.
Yeah. And so she just, I think she caught me, and she was like, she just put me, like, held me by the shoulders, and she's like, we are all in this together, and you are going to rock it, and it is going to be amazing, and you need to trust yourself, because you are a wonderful musician. And she did this whole thing, and then she walks out on stage and kills it. And then she comes off stage, and she's like, you are a wonderful person. And like, she just went right like that, from this show-stopping performance to going backstage and like not focusing on her, focusing directly on me, and being like, it's gonna be amazing, you know. So she is a wonderful person, inside and out. Every time I've seen her, she has just been just a really just a pure person, you know what I mean? Like, her personality just is just glowing. So it's just like hearing her perform, and then I think it was partially that experience of having of then seeing her backstage and seeing that fantastic performance just shown through in like such a fantastic person too, you know.
She's moving back to Ohio.
I know.
I just heard that.
I texted people when that happened. when she made the announcement, I was like, Ashley Hall is going to be in Ohio. So.
That's awesome.
Gonna have to bring her up for Dublin Youth Brass Band sometime.
Hey.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, I think it's time to wrap up. So hopefully we'll see you guys everyone who's listening at some IWBC in the future, because it's a great experience. And yes.
Yeah, thanks for being with us, Jess. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Of course.